Coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast.
Adam, I guess the question is, like, why does this keep happening? Because it seems like a lot of the similar issues with not being competitive, again, being over in the second half. I mean, it was there in the opener, there in week 2, and now it's here again in week 3.
The vaunted New York media doesn't let up. They're a dog with a bone. Here we go.
That's how we start.
Yeah, baby. 32 super fans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One PodVader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We will unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to It's Notto NFL Week 3 Recap Podcast. Hey everybody, PodVader here. Welcome to Next Fan Up. We say it's not a Week 3 recap because it's not. I mean, yes, it's about things that happened in Week 3, but it's really about what some of the coaches and players had to say after Week 3 was all done and we head into Week 4 of the NFL. And as I was last week, I am once again joined by our Eagles superfan, James. James, how's your week been?
Oh, my gosh. Is that the question you want to start asking me? How's my week been?
Well,
I'd rather deal with the New York media than be an Eagles fan right now.
All right. Well, we're going to get to the Eagles media. We're going to get to the New York media. But I wanted to start with Dan Quinn and the Atlanta media. Because, yeah, the Falcons have had a rough couple of weeks. I don't know if you know this. Or not, James, being in the Atlanta region, but Atlanta's had a couple of rough games. They apparently have this thing where they get a big lead and then they lose the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that happen before. I think you won a Super Bowl that way.
I think so. And what's funny is it's not just these. I wish I actually had the stats because it's not just the Super Bowl and it's not just these last 2 weeks. It's been numerous occasions where the Falcons have put themselves in a position to win by a large margin, and they end up losing. It's like it's a large margin. Like I seem to remember a game. I think it was against the Packers. They were up like 45-20. And they ended up losing that game. I don't know. I might be making that up, but this team certainly has an identity that they can't shake. But here's how the Atlanta media attacked Dan Quinn after the game.
Have you spoken with Arthur following the game, Dan? And how concerned are you about your job status following these 2 weeks?
Well, yeah, we visit every week, pregame, postgame, Mondays through the week. But any time, Zach, honestly, that I take away from that is time that all I can do is being in front of the team. And I said, I need to be the same guy on our best days and our worst days and stand tall for them and bring the energy and the coaching and the focus that we need to go win. Anything past that does not help the team. And so all I can focus on is us playing better and finishing better. And so that's where my focus will be and remains to be.
So Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. And the question was, have you met with Arthur yet? And his answer was, oh, I meet with him all the time, but I really shouldn't be because it's taking time away from me being with the team. I think that's a brilliant strategy on his part. Sorry, boss, I can't meet with you. I got to be with the team, so you can't fire me this week because I got to be with the team.
Yeah. He'll be one of the few coaches that actually makes it through the season if he does get fired.
There's no way he can make it through. We on last week's preview show, we got into a long conversation about Matt Patricia versus Adam Gase, who was going to get fired first, and we completely forgot about Dan Quinn. There's no way Dan Quinn can survive this.
Yeah, he can.
Oh boy, I'll tell you right now, that would be a travesty if Dan Quinn survives. I mean, they can't be losing games in this manner. They seriously can't. By the way,
I mean, especially in back-to-back weeks.
Calvin Ridley, was his reaction to his coach Dan Quinn, or was his reaction to what Julio Jones said last week about the locker room?
Not good.
I just love the two exasperated breaths and then not good.
Yeah. I'm going to say both. Both is good.
Oh, Calvin Ridley, how'd the game go for you?
Not good.
Calvin, what do you think about Neil's opinion of Sam Darnold?
Not good.
Oh, can you tell me to have fun with this?
We're going to be hammering Neil later this week.
Okay, can you tell me to have fun with this?
Oh, my gosh. You're having way too much fun with this.
Oh, yeah.
Just way too much fun.
Oh, yeah. Calvin, what do you think about people that don't tip their Uber Eats drivers?
Not good.
Exactly. Right there with you, Calvin.
Oh, man.
All right.
You're incorrigible.
Yeah. Well, listen, when I get great sound, I will use it. So let's go back to the New York media because the vaunted New York media. You know, you can't be a coach in New York and think you can get away from the bright lights of New York media. By the way, the vaunted New York media has got to be at least 21 years old at this point. When you listen to these reporters, they all sound like they're in their 20s. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But Adam Gase, the head coach of the New York Jets, spoiler alert, they're going to be last place in the power rankings yet again. They're 0-3, and they're not looking like they're a very good team right now. And a lot of that responsibility has got to fall on Adam Gase, and the New York media really let him have it in the post-game press conference after the Jets lost this past week. Let's hear how Adam Gase handled the New York media. This is going to be a little bit longer than they're used to, but stick with it because it's quite interesting.
I thought we were trending in the right direction. You know, after last week, you know, we got to, like I said, we got to go look at this and figure out kind of what went wrong and, you know, figure out a way to fix it quickly.
We're just being outscored by, you know, almost 60 points in 3 games here at this point.
I mean, we haven't done a good job. I mean, we all have to do better. Coaches, players, myself, everybody. We got to do a better job. We
put things in hyperdrive. Do you feel like you guys have made any progress over the past week, or is this, you know, kind of like
when we're in practice? I mean, I feel like I see guys getting better. We're doing the right things. I thought this week was way cleaner in the execution of what we were doing play wise. You know, we just can't make the mistakes that we're making. I mean, they're brutal mistakes that cost you games.
Adam, is this embarrassing?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go out there and get your ass kicked. I mean, it's frustrating. I'm frustrated for our guys, our coaches.
Adam, I guess the question is, like, why does this keep happening? Because it seems like a lot of the similar issues with not being competitive, again, being over in the second half. I mean, it was there in the opener, there in week 2, and now it's here again in week 3.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta play better. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, we played three tough teams, and, you know, we got to play a lot better than what we did.
All right. On the defense, I mean, you guys were such a good tackling team last year. It seems to be lacking this year. I mean, there's just so many missed tackles. I mean, do you kind of throw your hands up, or why do you think stuff like that is happening?
I mean, we just have to keep working on it. I mean, we're three games in this season. You know, I don't know. Maybe at the end of the year, you look at it and say, "Hey, preseason was that big of a deal?" And that's where you get most of your tackling kind of experience for the year, or where you're hardening up and you're getting used to doing that. And, you know, unfortunately, we're going through this in season.
So, by the way, that was 2 minutes of edited press conference, and that last question was the last question and answer, and that was 15 minutes. His press conference. Like, he just got hammered. And he finally, I gave him credit. He didn't say, "I don't know," until that last question. And then when he said, "I don't know," it was in reference to maybe it's because we didn't have a preseason. That was the first time he threw out any sort of excuse.
Look, in his defense, a lot of teams who are 0-3 or winless, I should say, could have probably benefited from preseason.
I mean, it's pretty clear to me that Adam Gase is a man who is frustrated, who really doesn't know. Like, when he's asked, like, why does this keep happening? I was surprised he didn't say, "I don't know." If he had, he was probably going to get fired on the spot. But he didn't, so I give him credit for not saying, "I don't know." But
true.
I mean, at this point, you got to throw the general manager under the bus. Yes, Adam Gase is not a great coach. We've hammered Adam Gase for years on this podcast, but at the same time, he has a star, perhaps, quarterback who has no offensive line to block in front of him that gives him no time at all. I believe, I know there was at one point in the game, the announcers were literally talking about how when you give a quarterback time, he can often, have some success. And literally on the play that they're talking about that, it was like
he throws a pick.
Ball snapped and the defender is in Sam Darnold's face. It was like literally that quick. So he had like half a second to maybe make a decision to get the ball out of his hand. It was
I'll give you that. I'll give you that his offensive line is trash. Okay,
and he doesn't have wide receivers. His wide receivers for this game were Chris Hogan, Braxton Berrios, and some other dude. And Hogan and Berrios are Patriot rejects. So you're not throwing to anybody good. It's just it's not a good thing for the Jets. They are they might be the worst. I got to tell you this. In the years that I've watched football, this might be the worst team I have ever seen. It's pretty close.
It might be close, but I don't think it's the worst team you've ever seen. I will say this though. In their defense, and this is going to be a very weak defense because I'm barely trying here. I'm just pointing out obvious things. They have played 3 teams in the Bills, Niners, and Colts who are all projected to make the playoffs one way or the other, either winning
the Niners split their XL team.
The Niners are still a solidly coached team. We've already established that before on many a podcast. And they have good depth, which apparently shown true during their, quote, XFL display that they put out there against the Giants this past week. Against the Colts, though, this was beyond horrendous because I can't remember if it was the first pick six or the second pick six. He threw the ball directly at the defender. So how much of that is on the offensive line blocking? Because there wasn't anyone in his face when he threw these 2 picks. He wasn't harassed. He wasn't pressured. The pocket wasn't collapsing around him. He had time to make the proper read and throw the ball on both of them. And I know on one of these pick sixes, he threw the ball. One was just a great play by the defender, but one he threw directly to the defender. And I can't remember if it was the first or the second, but they looked bad.
Assuming all the wide receivers are healthy, you're looking at Brashad Perriman, Jamison Crowder, Chris Hogan, Braxton Berrios. Any one of those guys is a number 3 at best option on another football team. Not a number 1 and not a number 2. And when you lose the guys that are your number 1 and number 2 and Brashad Perriman and Jamison Crowder, you're really hurting at that point. Your offensive line, Mekhi Becton was your number 1 draft pick this year. So you sort of get a pass because he's a rookie left tackle, but at the same time, he's a first rounder. Alex Lewis at left guard, Connor McGovern at center, Greg Van Rotten at right guard, and that should tell you all you need to know. George Fant at right tackle. Any of those guys a starter on any other football team?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with no.
Probably not. I mean, Mekhi Becton is the only one because he's a rookie. Tight end, you've got Christopher Herndon, Ryan Griffin, Trevin Wesco. I'm not even going to bother because the rest.
We've already established Chris Herndon's problems.
I mean, Ryan Griffin maybe ends up on a team. Chris Herndon, if his head was straight, maybe. This is what I thought was most interesting about watching this game too. I thought, all right, when they took out Phil Rivers for Jacoby Brissett, your boy got some time in the fourth quarter in garbage time. So are you going to finally root for the Colts because Jacoby Brissett got to play quarterback?
Play quarterback though. Hey! When they officially bench the shot putter, then yeah, I will be somewhat jubilant and happy that Jacoby Brissett is starting. But
I was like, when are they going to pull Sam Darnold? And his backup is listed as Joe Flacco, and he wasn't dressed to play. So James Morgan, their 4th round draft pick, is the guy that they dress to play after Sam Darnold? Yeah. Do you want the corpse of Frank Gore on your team? Probably not. Kalen Ballage, he's bounced around a few teams at this point. And then you have a rookie in LaMichael Perrine, who they were trying to talk up on the game, but
look, there's only so much you can do after putting lipstick on a pig.
All right, on defense, Quinnen Williams, Steve McClendon, Henry Anderson.
Everybody worth talking about on this defense was either traded away or released within the last 2 seasons. I don't think we need to go over this because
linebackers, Terrell Basham, Neville Hewitt, Avery Williamson, Jordan Jenkins. Your secondary, Quincy Wilson, Ashton Davis, Blesson Austin, and another 2 guys that perhaps you'd take on another team, Marcus May and Brad McDougald. And I saw McDougald got hurt in the course of this game, which is a shame. Anyway, the Jets roster is terrible, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, a lot of inexperience and a lot of youth. And Gase is not the guy to coach inexperience or youth.
So the other coach in New York, Joe Judge, he didn't get a full pass from the New York media. And as we just mentioned, the San Francisco 49ers XFL team handled the Giants easily, which is quite a shock. I mean, when Jordan Reed finally goes down to injury, Ross Dwelly takes over and still has himself a day. Ross Dwelly. Yes, that Ross Dwelly. I know you all know him. He's a huge star in the NFL.
Nope, never heard of him.
Yeah, exactly. So Joe Judge didn't get totally left off the hook. There was one guy who went after him and tried to use Joe Judge's own words against him, and Joe Judge was having none of it.
When you were hired, you talked a lot about how you want this to be a tough team that kind of represents this area and be a blue-collar team, all that stuff you said. I guess, how do you explain how this game went, especially in the second half where you guys, as mentioned, didn't get in the red zone and kind of struggled to stop them a little bit? I guess, how do you explain that in regards to how tough you want your team to be?
Yeah, I think about toughness and how you respond to things. Obviously, we have some adversity right now we have to respond to. When I think about this area, you talk about blue-collar. People that work blue-collar livings, like, my family did growing up, you just wake up every day no matter the circumstances and you go back to the grindstone. And that's what our team's going to do. We're not looking for excuses. We're not pointing fingers. We're not looking for shortcuts. We're working on building this thing the right way for this area, all right, for the families that this team represents. And we're going to come back Wednesday, and we're going to work our butts off to get this thing right moving forward. So in terms of the people in the area who want to know the direction this program's going, I can assure you that I take a great deal of pride and I put a lot of personally into this to make sure that the product they see on the field they can be proud of. And although they're disappointed with some of the things that have happened on the field, I can assure you we're working the same way they work every day to get our butts back to work, to get it right, and to get it going forward.
Now, see, that sounds like a coach who's not done yet. Adam Gase sounded like a coach that was done. Joe Judge was like, oh, we're going to fix this thing, and you can trust that we're going to fix this thing, and don't try and use my words against me, you little punk.
Yeah, definitely Joe Judge has a bit of a fire lit under him at this point. And look, he gets a pass because this is his first year coaching. This is a team that's pretty much devoid in talent in some key areas. We could say there's something on the offensive line and they're still getting better, but I haven't seen it yet. And look, they've lost their best player for the year, in Saquon Barkley. So things are just pretty much going to get rougher for them before it gets better. Just glancing at the schedule, just circle October 22nd, Thursday night game in Philadelphia. That'll probably be their best chance for a victory, depending on how that team is playing, because your leading rusher for the New York Giants is Daniel Jones with a total of 92 yards on the season.
Well, and as you mentioned, Saquon's out for the year. Deion Lewis, I don't even think got a snap. If he did get a snap at running back, I didn't see him. Devontae Freeman managed 10 yards in the limited snaps that he got in the game. My guess is Freeman will become the number one back.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's just, they They literally just signed him. So, I mean, he was signed, like 3 days before the game, 4 days before the game?
Exactly.
So Devontae Freeman doesn't know enough of the playbook. He'll probably be a bigger part of the team going into this week's game. But I mean, listen, when I hear those two head coaches, there's one head coach that, all right, I'm on board with. And there's another head coach that I'm like, all right, if you get fired after the Thursday night game, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, because writing's on the wall for one of them, man. Like you said, after Thursday night, we'll know for sure. Because I have a feeling, depending on the outcome, it will be breaking news as soon as the final whistle blows.
Calvin Ridley, what did you think of Adam Gase's response to the media?
Not good.
What did you think of the Eagles and the Bengals kissing their sister?
Not good.
What's the writing say on the wall? What's the writing say on the wall in Philadelphia right now?
Not good.
I'm sorry. Was that too low?
No.
Was that too soon?
Please get it over with. I mean, because I'm going to get battered on Thursday anyway. Might as well start now.
Well, Doug Pederson had this to say about his team after the game.
Yeah, I told him in the locker room after the game that we weren't a very, very, very smart football team today, but just not a smart football team right now. And
yeah, you're just not smart.
They're not. And, another not smart thing is something Donovan McNabb said on November 16th, 2008, because that was the last time these two teams played in a tie. Only that time it was at 13, and this time it's at 23. The ineptitude of this team all around it just baffles me, from the decisions on how they run the offense, because I feel like at this point, Miles Sanders should be the focal point of this offense. Just run the ball, get it in his hands with some screens, quick dump offs, check downs, whatever. Let him be the workhorse until Carson Wentz learns how to read a defense, because there were some rookie things that he should not be doing that he's still doing. And I don't know if it was just lightning that struck during his second year when we went to and won the Super Bowl when he got injured, but he hasn't been able to find that magic, chutzpah, that it thing, whatever it was that he had that season. It's no longer there. And he is basically a terrible, terrible quarterback. He has as many interceptions as Kirk Cousins.
Well, that's usually a difficult thing to do, because Kirk Cousins doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. He has this year, but not usually. I didn't cut the sound up, but there was a moment in overtime where the Eagles were lined up. They had an opportunity to go for a 54-yard field goal, and there was a false start penalty that backed them up 5 yards. Instead of attempting a longer field goal, this is where Doug Pederson changes his mind and decides he's going to punt it away, even though he knows there's only going to be like 20 seconds left in the game once he punts that ball away, or 13 seconds, or essentially the game's over if he punts the ball. So he's admitting that he is going to tie the game. Why in the world do you not attempt the field goal? That's what I don't understand. So go for the 54-yard field goal. If you miss, you give the Bengals one opportunity, maybe two.
With no timeouts. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They had no timeout. So, yeah, they still might get two opportunities. But trust, to me, you got to go for it. I'm not going for the tie. You kick the long-ass field goal. If you miss, okay, the Bengals have the ball at midfield, but who heck cares? They're in the same situation. You play tight defense, they don't complete the pass. Yeah, and if they get in the middle, the time runs out. If they get it to the sideline, then your defense played like crap. What you're saying to me by punting away the ball is you have no faith that your defense can stop them from getting another 10 yards to get a better field goal opportunity. That's what that was saying to me, and that's not good. That's not good coaching.
But that's one of those things where we talk about coaching where you're scared to lose instead of trying to win, and coaches usually get fired because of things like that. You know, going down at the end of the game, time running out, a minute something on the clock, you're down, 4 points. You decide to kick the field goal because you think you're going to get the onside kick and be able to kick another field goal. Go for the touchdown. Like, I don't care if it was 4th and 20. They could have called the play and chucked something up. I mean, they've got all these fast receivers on the roster, a lot of whom was still healthy enough to play. Greg Ward was still out there. Hightower was still out there. You got, a tall receiver, tight end in Zach Ertz, who was still healthy. Like, I get that Goddard and Jackson were knocked out of the game, but between Greg Ward, Hightower, Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders, you could have put Boston Scott in the backfield, send those 4 downfield in some pattern and chuck the ball up and give them a chance to make a play. But then again, that's the problem with Carson Wentz now, because for whatever reason, he doesn't like throwing to any wide receivers other than Jackson and Ward. He just doesn't trust these guys on the outside for whatever reason. He's forcing everything to Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. And when those two guys are not in the game, he stares down his first read. He holds the ball too long. He takes sacks. I mean, this game could have gone a multitude of different ways on Sunday. His 2 interceptions were horrible. Even the first one that was tipped, because I'm watching the coverage and I'm watching the routes play out. And even though there's 2 receivers crossing in front of him with a guy hooking behind the crossing receivers, there's still a defender sitting there. So even if the defender at the line who tips the ball doesn't tip the ball, the linebacker sitting in the zone area of the field behind the crossers but in front of the hook receiver still intercepts the football. It's a bad throw, period. And he still threw it. Carson Wentz is the worst quarterback in football right now.
Oh, that's hyperbole. That's the fan speaking.
Hey, 2 picks in every game this season, and he's turned the ball over on his own 9 times.
I mean, he's struggling, but he's not the worst quarterback in football right now.
We're -7 in the turnover ratio, and he's responsible for at least 6 of those -7.
All right. Well, listen, Calvin Ridley.
Not good.
But hey, we don't just have, we don't just cover the losers on this not a week 3 recap. Oh no, we've got fun sound too. And we're going to start in Seattle, where head coach Pete Carrol is going to talk a little bit about his favorite wide receiver, DK Metcalf.
Coach, for DK Metcalf to come back from having the fumble to catching the game winners, what does that show you about? He did that kind of week 1 with the drop and then the touchdown, the way he can bounce back from adversity.
Yeah, he's rock solid. I mean, it's such a hard lesson for him, to have a guy knock the ball out of his hands on it, just an exquisite play, just throw and catch and execution, everything, protection, the whole thing was gorgeous, and then we give them the football. I mean, that's just a terrible play for us to have to endure, but the lesson learned will help everybody, and unfortunately we overcame it, and it didn't, wreck the game for us.
Yeah, did you hear how obsessed Pete Carrol is with DK Metcalf? Listen close again.
Yeah, he's rock solid. I mean, it's such a hard lesson.
Yeah, rock solid, hard. I felt like he was ready to rip his shirt off right there and do his DK Metcalf impersonation again.
Do you think he was fired up a little bit?
Oh, we've got fired up later, but yes, I do think he was definitely a little fired up. I think, and honestly, that is such a bonehead play. Like I can't believe it still happens in the NFL to this day. And Pete later on further said, it's something we talk about all the time. We celebrate in the paint, and DK was clearly celebrating before the paint. And
I mean, hey, when you get behind the secondary, you don't think they're going to catch you. I say keep running through the end zone just to be sure.
It's not a bad idea to celebrate on the other side of the paint. Yeah, it's probably even a better idea. I'm with you on that one. Hey, New England is They're doing pretty well. You know, they're 2-1. Even in the loss, people were like, "Hey, this team might have something here. This might actually be an okay year," which I thought was ridiculous because I was not like that after a loss. Like, I will probably never be like that after. There are no moral victories in the NFL.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. But there was a victory this past week, and Cam Newton was asked about the fun he's having in New England. He's given all of the guys nicknames, and N'Keal Harry is Doughboy, and Jules is Juju, I think, and of course he goes by the Squirrel, and he's got nicknames. Little Birdie, he's got nicknames for all the guys. Or Small Fry, I think is what Small Fry is what he calls JJ Taylor, the running back who sort of had a little bit of a coming out party this past week. But here's Cam Newton on the Patriot way.
There's an aura that you get when you play as a member of the New England Patriots, and that aura can sometimes be like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just the Patriot way to a degree from the outside looking in, but from the inside looking out, man, these guys are really, you know, they really enjoy the process as well as myself. And me being a member, I'm just lucky to be here. And, you know, anytime I can, you know, lighten the mood in some way, shape, form, you know, I hesitate not.
I love the Yoda at the end. I hesitate not. What's the aura like again? Oh, yeah. Cam Newton.
That about sums it up.
I had some Cam Newton sound last week that I forgot about. We might have a Cam Newton piece every single week at this point. But Cam Newton certainly bringing some fun to the New England Patriots that they don't normally have, especially in the post-game pressers.
Absolutely.
You know,
anything he's entertaining at those post-game pressers.
And he's saying the right things. I'm just lucky to be here. You know, he didn't sign a huge contract. It's a definite prove it type contract with the Patriots. And even if he does, quote unquote, prove it, it's a max of $8 million. So he's definitely playing this year for a contract next year. He's looking to get paid for next year, and he's out there this year to prove it. And quite honestly, as a fan, that's what I want. I want my quarterback in that way every year, right? I want my quarterback every year to be like, I'm just lucky to be here, and I got to prove that I'm worth the money that I'm going to get paid. And you know, after the loss, people were like, sign up Cam Newton, sign him to a long-term deal now, get it done. I'm not on the Cam Newton bandwagon just yet. Like, yes, the Patriots have made some interesting tweaks to their offense, and they're doing what Belichick does, highlighting the strengths and, you know, hiding the weaknesses as best that they possibly can. But I don't think this is a team that's in a position to compete with Kansas City and Baltimore and the upper echelon of the NFL at this particular point in time. It's just not there. They're a maybe above average team thanks to the coaching staff.
Do you think they still have a shot to win a division, though?
I don't know. Buffalo's balling out for sure. We're getting there. You want to jump right to the Buffalo sound.
Sorry for being Nostradamus on this podcast.
It's like I gave you a rundown, and you know who's coming. We're getting there. But first, we're going to be talking about kickers yet again, because Matt Prater kicked the game winner and admitted something to the press after the game.
I honestly don't know what happens to me after a game winner, because everybody goes so crazy. I kind of black out, and I usually say a bunch of things. I don't even know what I'm saying, and just.
Oh my gosh. He's blacking out on the football field. What's going on with those kickers? What's he blacking out from?
Kickers are a special breed, and some would say they deserve a pass for some things. I don't know what for, but you only got one job.
Kick the ball, make it go through the uprights. That's it. Yeah, make it happen. You know, and the thing I'm most upset about with this blackout kicking it eliminated me from the survivor pool this week. Thank you, Arizona. You know what? Arizona does this to me all the time. I don't know why I ever put any sort of faith into Arizona, because as soon as I do, they let me down. It's just, it happened years ago. I had the Patriots as a lock in my survivor pool against the Cardinals. Cardinals beat them. This week, I picked the Cardinals as my lock of the week. No.
I'm sorry you went that way.
Matt Prater blacks out.
Probably should have taken the Buccaneers like I did.
Or the Colts. But yeah, I got the Bucs in a game later this season. I think they've got there's an obvious game. Anyway, that's part of the problem is I don't do my survivor pick week by week necessarily. I go through at the beginning of the year and pick my lock of the week for the entire year. And then if I have to adjust, I will. And I adjusted this week because I forgot who my original lock of the week was for this week, but I was like, oh, it's definitely not I can't put my trust in that team. I think it was the Chargers this week. Who'd the Chargers play?
The Panthers.
Yeah. I think my original lock was going to be the Chargers this week, and I changed it to the Cardinals. I would have been wrong both ways.
You would have been wrong either way.
So there you go. All right. The much ballyhooed Doug McDermott sound from head coach of the Buffalo Bills. For those of you that are longtime fans of the super fans and of me and of the old 4-letter network days, you know that we followed this for quite some time and actually came up a number of times in some of the press conferences I heard. But this was the most egregious use of fired up that I think I've ever heard in my entire media days. Here we go.
And so, look, we're all accountable to one another. Josh knows that's something I'm confident that's something he'll learn from. So fired up that he led our team on a scoring drive or so. You fired up for that, man? Huh?
I mean, my heart is I deleted and rewrote about 4 different stories, but so yeah, my heart is pounding.
Doug McDermott badgering the New York media. Never mind the New York media badgering the coach. The coach is badgering the New York media, making sure that they're fired up.
You fired up for that, man? Huh?
Hey, look, after that game, they should be fired up. I still question the pass interference call at the end, but whatever. You know, defense still had a chance to stop them, but they let it get away. So congratulations to the Bills for being undefeated.
I mean, the Bills right now are looking really strong in the AFC East. They have the Raiders this week. They are at the Titans the following week, and then they have the Chiefs. Now, I'm not saying that the Raiders probably are a gimme game for the Bills, although I wouldn't say it's a gimme game. And the Titans, the Titans right now, I wouldn't say that the luckiest 3-0 team, but they certainly are a team that next season you're going to be like, yeah, I don't know about the Titans. They won a lot of one-score games. Mm-hmm. So the Bills and the Titans, that will be a good one. I think they'll probably be pretty even, and the question will be which Titans team will come and play against the Bills. It will be fun to see how the Patriots handled the Chiefs this week in Foxborough. I think it's one of those things where I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I know that Belichick will have something that will make this a closer game than people will think. I think people right now are thinking, oh, the Chiefs are the number one, far and away the best team in the NFL. And they absolutely are. But they're going to come to Foxborough and Belichick's going to punch them in the mouth and they're going to come away with a victory, but they ain't going to feel good about it. They're basically going to be like, we can't see this team again in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And look, if nothing else, Belichick always coaches up that defense every single week to shut down the opposing offense's best weapon. Well, Kansas City's best weapon is Mahomes. So at this point in his career, how much is there still left that you can throw at him? I mean, this is getting it's quickly getting to the point to where he had to try to find new ways to stop Peyton Manning when he was with the Colts.
Yep.
And he's running out. He's running out of things to throw at Mahomes that he hasn't seen before. And look, he can dig up some old stuff and disguise it, but the way the Chiefs offense runs with the speed and the height of some of those receivers and them actually leaning on the running game early in the season, I mean,
the touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill in the Monday Night Football game.
A teardrop over the head. Yes.
There's nothing else. I mean, there's nothing else that defender could do. The defender had perfect positioning.
Mm-hmm.
And Mahomes perfectly placed the ball where only his wide receiver could catch it. And the defender had no shot at stopping it. And trust me, I'm still the guy that looks at Mahomes and watches him play and go, you can't do that. And he still does it, and he still gets away with it. And I still have to believe that some of these things that I'm seeing are going to come back and bite him, but hasn't happened yet. And it's been 3 years now, not one, not a preseason, so, I mean, at this point, you kind of have to look in awe and in wonder of this creature that has been blessed to us in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes, because we could be watching the greatest quarterback now of all time. And it's early in his career.
Yeah, very much so. And Monday night was any indication, it's going to be a long season for Chief opponents.
Let's look and, we'll probably talk about this again on Thursday, but when's the first time the Chiefs will lose? Well, they have the Patriots this week, then the Raiders, then they're at the Bills, they're at the Broncos, then the Jets, then the Panthers, then a bye week, then they're at the Raiders, and I have it in my preseason predictions, week 12 at the Bucs. Brady versus Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no on that one.
Wow. All right.
Now, I'm not saying they're going to run the table, but I think the best opportunity for them to lose will probably be, let's see.
Then they're at the Broncos, then they're at the Dolphins, and then week 15 at the Saints.
The Saints game could be an L.
Week 16, Falcons. Week 17, Chargers. At that point, they're not playing their starters.
That's if they have the first seed locked up. I want to go back here to the next.
They'll have the first seed. Wait. That's if they have the first seed locked up. I just gave you their entire schedule, and
I know.
And you're like,
and
maybe they're not going to lose to the Bucs, and maybe they lose to the Saints. Those are the only two games that the Chiefs are in any sort of trouble for, and the only other team. The Chiefs could be going 16-0. They're going to lock up the first seed by.
They're not going 16-0.
The middle of November. By the time they're at their bye week, they've got the first seed locked up.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, the Raiders are still playing solid football, and that's what I want to get to. That first Raiders game. So just follow me here. The Patriots game is going to be, I don't want to say a bloodbath, but it's definitely going to be a very physical game. It's probably going to be the most physical game they play all season, right?
Mm-hmm.
The concern is how they play after that. Whether they win or lose, and for the sake of argument, let's say they beat the Patriots, but it's a close game. They win by less than a touchdown. They're beaten, they're bruised, they're battered, whatever have you. And then they have to come back and play the Raiders. And despite the Raiders, whatever, they're going to be up because you're playing the defending Super Bowl champions, and they just happen to be in your division. And by all accounts, everyone in this podcast assumes the Raiders will pretty much be the number 2 team in the AFC West. Why not make a statement, come out, beat them? A team that's pretty much going to be probably exhausted mentally, not just physically, from playing a Belichick defense. This is probably the best chance for them to lose a game this early in the season. And if not, then the Bills afterwards. That's the part of the schedule I'm looking at coming off, and that's just coming off the Patriots. If it was anybody else in the slot besides the Patriots for this coming week, you'd say, all right, win all the way through to whenever they play, a credible opponent that you actually give them the benefit of the doubt. But I'm looking at that Patriots, Raiders, Bills stretch coming up here, and I don't think they win all 3 of these games.
Well, listen, we gave the people a little bit more than what we normally give them. What do you think about that, Calvin Ridley?
Not good.
Oh, come on. It's not a bad thing. Give them a little bit more to chew on this week. In a not a week 3 preview. Hey, we want to hear from you. nextfanup@gmail.com. You can tweet us at NFU Podcast, facebook.com/NFU Podcast for all of our episodes, plus the recipes that we get from Doc on Thursdays. So you can have some great home gating, some delicious food put into your bellies. I did not, as I said, did not get a chance to make the stuffed mushrooms this past weekend, as my wife decided she's going to compete now with Doc every week. She made some homemade mac and cheese to go with her potato skins. And there's no beating my wife's potato skins. They are delicious. The only thing missing is that I didn't have any chili left over from a couple weeks ago from week 1 to put onto the potato skins, because that is a combination that cannot be beat.
Sounds like some good eating.
I've left him speechless, Calvin Ridley.
Not good.
Oh yes, that's a drop. Trust me, if I could bring the drops back for the preview shows, this drop would get so played. It'd be fantastic. I can't wait. I got to figure it out. That's all there is to it. If somebody has an old mixing board that's small and they want to donate to me, that's really my problem. I don't have room for a mixing board here in my little setup. But if I had a mixing board, we'd have some sounds, and Calvin Ridley would be a star this season just from his drop. Anyway, for James, for all the head coaches out there, for the super fans, we'll have the Thursday night preview for you tomorrow. And of course, the rest of week 1 previewed in full. Week 1. Whoa, we're going to go back in time. The rest of week 4 previewed for you on Thursday.
I like to restart the season.
I'm sure you do. There you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together. And through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment and remained true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.